Tomorrow, don't forget to join us from the dining room table, where we will go live with the Court of Public Opinion. What we're going to do is to accumulate our live broadcasts, and they'll be recorded and just go into circulation, as jeremycordeaux.com is a live streaming radio station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by the way, I don't know whether we're getting a lot of new viewers to the Court of Public Opinion, listeners to the Court of Public Opinion, through Facebook, or we're getting it through the podcasts, but I see so many new names that I have not seen before getting in touch with us with comments, all of them good. In fact, what I'd like to do, maybe next week, is to go through and capture some of them, because you make sense. You really do make sense. And I think we all should share your sense. I know you send the message to me, but I'd like to broadcast it. But we'll get to the dates later on. I mean, the anniversaries and what happened on this day. But don't forget, if there's anything you want to bring up on the program tomorrow, you've got that opportunity, and please take advantage of it. Kent University have done some fascinating work on imagination. It was thought that children made the most of their imagination. Now, I would have thought that was right. They weren't afraid to use their imagination. I mean, I'd never had an imaginary friend. Pete, did you have an imaginary friend? No. I know kids do. I think Christian had an imaginary friend, or somebody he thought he could see and talk to. It's not uncommon. Imagination. Kids are not afraid of their imagination. The older we get, the less we use it. That's what was thought. Wrong. Wrong. They thought that something else kind of took over when you were, what's the word? Mature. I don't think I ever want to grow up. I mean, look around this garage. There is no hope. I ain't gonna grow up, I tell you. Yeah. Maturity. Something takes over. Common sense. Lack of adventure. Play it safe. No fun anymore. People might laugh. Well, apparently, according to Kent University, it's not true. But we all should do a lot more work on encouraging people to find their 12-year-old self, or their 18-year-old used to be, and then stand back and watch the fun. One of the things, I suppose, I remember my grandmother, who taught me more about life than I ever learnt at school. And she worked on the basis that the older you got, the better it got, because there was a certain latitude. You could be quite eccentric, and people would accept you for it, and, you know, be quite tolerant. Whereas if you were younger, you'd never get away with it. I remember she would never stand in a queue, and she was in her 70s and 80s, and she'd take me down to the shops, or we'd go into town or something. And she would never wait in a queue. She would walk straight to the head of the queue and turn around and just say, "It reminds me of the war. I know you'll forgive me." And with little Jeremy in her hand, we just got on the bus or bought the ticket or whatever it was. You see, I wouldn't have the gall or the front to do that sort of thing. I don't know. I was talking about, when was it? Oh, it must have been last week. That $7 billion... No, I know, when it was Friday. It was Friday. We were talking about that $7 billion deal to buy the new IVF, which is the infantry fighting vehicles from Korea. These are the new ones, Redback, I think they're called. My suggestion was, why couldn't we make them here? The Bushmaster's been a great success. Anyway, Rob messaged me, as you can tomorrow. You can message me, send me a text, or make a phone call. And if you've got a pen, it's 0491. And Pete will put this up on the garage door at the end of the show, but it's 0491 65 68 60. 0491 65 68 60. That's for Friday morning. And you can tell me what you like. But Rob let me know on that number that they were being made under license in Geelong. Now that part of the story I hadn't heard, but I have checked it, and it's right. Rob, you are perfectly right. But it's interesting that Geelong, the Geelong factory, is in the seat of Corio, which is held by the Defence Minister, Richard Marles. Now, one looks after one's own. I think that would be perfectly reasonable to assume that Minister for Defence, Richard Marles, would look after his electorate. Mind you, no one has raised that. No one has lifted an eyebrow over that. I don't see the problem with it, but I think in political terms somebody could make something of it. But who gets the money? Rob, that's what I want to know now. $7 billion is an awful lot of money. Is it going to Korea? Or is it going to stay here? If it's going to stay here, what would be the point of the Koreans doing it in the first place and winning the tender? I remember when there were crime wars in Victoria. You would remember them as well, I'm sure. They filled the papers and the television screens. It was almost as though the police were quite happy to stand off to one side and let the idiots kill each other. Saves a lot of trouble and a lot of money, and why should the police endanger their own lives? Well, looking at these latest statistics, I suppose you could call them, from Sydney, 5 people shot dead in the space of 10 days on the streets of suburban Sydney. I hear the government has initiated an inquiry. If you don't know what to do, have an inquiry. Seems to be what happens. The police have established Operation Magnus. 100 highly trained police officers pledged to end the crime gang violence on the streets of suburban Sydney. Now, you don't have to look too deeply into the cause or effect. You just look to where the killings have taken place. The southwest of Sydney. This is an area of great Middle Eastern crime gang activity. And it has been for years. Years and years. Wasn't so when I was in Sydney. I think this has all happened in the last 20, 25 years. Anyway, I live 1,000 miles away, and I wonder why the authorities in Sydney don't know. You'd think you could join the dots. Standing back and letting these people kill each other is one way of handling the problem. And the other way is, as Commissioner Webb has decided to do, and the direction she's decided to go, and that is all the way. She's told her task force to make a lot of noise, kick down the doors, take the weapons, all of them illegal, of course, and stop the killing. Which sort of tells me that they know the people and the doors to kick down. They know the cause of the trouble, and they know where the trouble lives. But what is this political correctness? They're not going to identify the problem by nationality, district, or religion. Oh yeah, they do say Southwest Sydney, but that's code for Middle East. I can't see why not. A lot of law-abiding Middle Eastern people who would really like not to be associated with this nonsense. It's certainly a factor, however, the nationality, I mean. No problem naming the bikie gangs involved. The police have made it quite clear, no more Mr. Nice Guy, no more kid gloves. I could just add to that, please, no more political correctness. These people are worse than the mafia. And when they were a force to be reckoned with, we never had any trouble identifying the mafia or their nationality. No problem. But then again, back then, I don't think I'd ever heard of political correctness. You know the song What I Did for Love, Pete?
Yes. Yeah.
What I Did for Love. It was a Marvin Hamlish song from a show called The Chorus Line, What I Did for Love. It could have been written for Gladys Berejiklian, the former and one of the best premiers they ever had in New South Wales, who quit the top job when they started an ICAC investigation into a relationship with a member for Wagga, or as it's more properly called, Wagga Wagga, one Darryl Maguire, finding her guilty of serious corrupt conduct. Now, it took them almost 2 years to come up with that. But what I don't understand is the ICAC didn't refer the case on to the DPP for, in other words, for prosecution, because there was not enough evidence. There was not enough evidence. There was enough evidence to ruin this woman's life, but not enough to charge her with anything. That's ridiculous. They're either going to have to change the language that they use or change the law, because you and I, who live in the real world, will never be able to understand why, if somebody is guilty of serious corrupt conduct and you are prepared to accuse her publicly of that and then say there's not enough evidence, things must truly be off the rails. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, the day. Some of the things for which we remember the day. August 3, leave you with some of these. Firestone Tyre and Rubber Company was founded in 1900. Been around a long time. Firestone Tyres. Oh, the great Tony Bennett, American Academy and Emmy Award-winning pop and jazz singer. I left my heart in San Francisco, stepping out with my baby, and a great painter. Born in Long Island City, New York. 2021, singer Tony Bennett celebrates his 95th birthday with Lady Gaga in the first of 2 farewell performances at Radio City Music Hall, New York City. He died in 2023, just a little while ago. Lovely man, lovely man. Elisha Otis, American founder of the Otis Elevator Company and inventor of a safety device that prevents elevators from free falling. Ooh, handy. He died in 1861, but he was born in 1811. Adolf Hitler merges the office of German Chancellor and President, declaring himself Führer in 1934. Carolyn Jones, American actress, Morticia in the Addams Family, dies of colon cancer at just 53. That was in 1983. The lovely Martha Stewart, American business magnate and TV personality who founded the Martha Stewart Living Omni Media, born in New Jersey City in 1941. It's interesting how tall poppies get a hard time. I mean, they hounded her for something. I think they got her for... they actually put her in jail for insider trading or something. Don't give people stock market tips at parties or wherever people give stock market tips, I gather. I don't know what the real message is. Christopher Columbus set sail on his first voyage with 3 ships. There was the Santa Maria, most notable, 1492. 1492! Joseph Conrad, Polish-English novelist, Heart of Darkness, dies at 66. It's only those who do nothing that make no mistakes. One of the things for which he is remembered. I think one of the things we had to study at school was Joseph Conrad. I remember, I think there was a thing called Youth, and there was another one called Gasparui, I think. Gasparui. Oh dear. The Battle of the Nile. British Admiral Horatio Nelson forces the remnants of the French fleet to surrender. 1798. The Beatles' final performance at the Cavern Club in Liverpool in England in 1966. South African government bans records by the Beatles. 1971, Paul McCartney announces formation of his new group Wings. It's all on the same day. All on the same day. And Martin Sheen, American actor, West Wing, born in Dayton, Ohio in 1940. What's the son's name? Charlie Sheen. Yeah. Bad boy, Charlie. Untold. Anyway, thank you very much for being with us. The Court of Public Opinion, tomorrow from the dining room table, live for 3 hours. Do join us. You just go to jeremycordeaux.com. Now, Tony Denton, who is the brilliant mastermind behind creating this radio station, he can't be there tomorrow. So, Pete, we're flying solo. Something goes wrong, but it's always much more fun when something goes wrong. People love it when things go wrong. They point fingers and say, look at him squirm, isn't that great? Lovely. Anyway, I will be there. I hope you will be there. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will see you tomorrow for the Court of Public Opinion. jeremycordeaux.com. Bye for now.